Welcome to the 12 lessons I learned from going abroad and living in other countries. When I was 19, I lived in Antwerp for the first time, and it was also the first time I started meal prepping. And for anyone that doesn't know what meal prepping is, it's where you batch all of your meals in one day for the amount of calories you need every each day, and so you only have to cook like once a week essentially. And for me, that was perfect because I'm quite tall, so I always need to eat a lot, and I always thought I was never able to build muscle because I just had to eat that much that I I I I just thought that I couldn't. But in actuality, I was not eating enough. So how to change that? Starting from meal prepping everything, like massive amounts of food, and turned out it worked. I started gaining like half a kilo a week or something, something like that, half a kilo a week, like two kilos a month. Is that right? Yeah, 2 kilos a month. And it was the first time I saw major gains, and it was quite awesome because I had been working out for like 4 years, and it was always quite small progressions. And this was the first time that my body was like, yeah, rocketing. And yeah, the funny thing probably about that was it's many hard things because trying to cook and balance all of that is quite hard. But the sad part was that after the 4 months I went to my brother for this awesome trip because he lives in Hawaii, and I wasn't able to eat the same amount, and I think because I wasn't able to eat the same amount and I wasn't able to work out the same amount of volume, and I lost it all, not all, but like 3 kilos or something from the 10 that I had gained in that small period of time. And I think that I learned something there was that gains you gain very quickly, you lose also very quickly. And I think that's where I changed my strategy a bit for how I train now, and that is train for the long run. And slow and steady gains are probably better, more sustainable, more easy to do on a day-to-day basis. And I think it's funny how my the way of working out has changed because I try to work out almost every day now, but it's more I don't use a gym because with all the times that I moved around and the different things I do, I thought like, oh, I always made excuses. Oh, I don't have a gym now, this and that. And I was like, how can you remove that from your day to day life? How can I remove that not having a gym around isn't a problem? So I started thinking calisthenics is always that great, great thing to try and do. That's what I also did a lot. But the main thing is just be creative with my exercises. Like my my triceps, there's so many fun ways of doing it. Like my shoulders, my triceps and chest. I now train just by before I do a shower. I always do handstand push-ups. That's a standard. My calves have been massively growing just because I in the morning every day when I brush my teeth. I'm easily a bit blessed, but they've been fucking getting bigger. Um, and that's just because every morning I've been doing calf races while I brush my teeth. And sometimes I just ask my girlfriend to sit on my back just to make it heavier. And it's funny how with a bit of creativity, it's so easy to get the muscle to what's the English word for it? Something like that, just to get the soreness in the muscle way, like what you're trying to do when you're trying to train it. And I think that that makes it so much easier to do on a day-to-day basis. Like I have everything around me to train whatever I need, and it's the same with I think after that year in 19 I started getting like pain in my lower back as well because I forgot one big thing about training, and that is stretching. Like I mean, probably everyone forgets stretching and leg day, but we don't forget leg day. We just don't do it. No, I'm kidding. We love leg day. Leg day is awesome. But stretching is one of those things that I wasn't doing, and I think that's how I got that back pain. It was my spine was slightly like tilted, and there was just pressure on my back nerve. So all these different physios were like saying different things, like how to do your back different, how to do. They couldn't really tell me what it was until I just started thinking for myself, and I was like, not sure if it's true or not, but I think the problem is my hamstrings. They need to be looser. They need to be more stretched. They need to be stronger. My lower back is not strong enough. I need to strengthen that. And when I did those things, I started stretching my hamstrings and strengthening them on when they're in that stretch. Started strengthening my lower back, and that's when the pain started to lessen. And I think the lesson there is that stretching is fucking important. No, no, I'm kidding. But the lesson was that these, funny enough, actually, side quest. Um, like I always thought that going to these physios, they will fix you or something. Like you go there, they fix you up. Doesn't really. It's like the exercise they give you. Yeah, if you do them, then they work. But if they don't exactly know what it is that is pain or hurt, get the wrong exercises. But in essence, I found the exercises, the stretches, these are the important things to do. So start doing them on a day-to-day basis. But the fun thing is that I realized that if I need to do these stretches on a day-to-day basis, I have to make it fun for myself. And it's like that reward system. It's like you ask a dog, sit, give it a treat. Dog knows if I sit, do that action, get a reward. And with myself, I think about it the same way. So when I first started to like stretch, I just started to move around, like feel where you feel that stretch, right? And because in essence, it's just stretching that muscle. And especially when you're sore from training, then stretching that muscle just feels unbelievably good because from all the working out, you get like tight and just getting that stretch, it just, oh, it feels so good. So that's like that treat you get. And not doing all of these dumb stretch exercises people tell you to do. Just start feeling where these muscles feel good, where it's sore, and not don't go to the pain. Go to where it feels good. And when I started doing that, now I get excited about stretching. Like even when I'm working, I work outside, so I mean, there's no excuses for not to stretch, but I just do it while I work sometimes. Just like start standing there, fuck it, what everyone thinks. Sees a weird guy on the street just doing some weird poses. I'm like, but it's funny. It's good. It works for me. And in that essence, I found that I got the reward system for these stretches because it feels good. And sometimes when we have to do these specific exercises because they say this is the right stretch, it just hurts. And you don't get the reward system, so you don't do it the next day. So maybe later we can do these specific type of stretches. But I think it's important to start with enjoying that feeling of moving and stretching those things. So that's the second thing that I learned after the working out because these two things go hand in hand for your health. And I like to connect the other one that it's something I learned way later, but that's for my food. I'm not fully sure if this is the right thing yet, but it has been working so far really, really well. So from like working out every day, stretching, and making it feel good, now it's about food. And I always thought I had to eat 6 times a day, and I had this weird relationship with food because it was never about flavor. It was always about utility and just eating as much as I could. And that doesn't really feel that great. You don't really want to eat. It's just boring, and you start eating all these weird things. Even though I've always been grown up with eating healthy, organic foods and those type of things. So what I now did, and I'm not sure if it's working, but I feel good in my body, and makes it way easier to start my days and start working. And that is, I only eat 3 times a day, or sometimes 4, but only in an 8-hour period. So I start eating at around 9, 10. When I work, it's my first break then. And then I eat again at like 1, 1:30. And then I eat dinner at 5, 6. And then after 6, I don't eat anymore until then the next day, 5. And in that way, at first I couldn't get enough calories and protein in these 3 meals, but that was fine because I needed to go long term. But what I wanted was more time in the morning to just start working, start doing some things straight away. So with this way, I can wake up at like 5 and till 10, 5 hours still, I can just do whatever I need until I feel like I need to eat. And that is so awesome because before I always get tired straight away after I eat because big portions took so long. Like if you eat oatmeal, it takes like an hour to eat. So it's no fun. But then what I realized was it was the same thing with the feel good and getting that reward. It was like at first I wasn't able to eat enough, but it felt good, so I did it. And then every week or every time I felt like, oh, I can eat more in this one meal, I started making my one of the 3 meals bigger and bigger every time, a little bit bigger. So I do oatmeal in the morning and I added like 3 boiled eggs. And the next week I was like, oh, every day it went pretty well. Now I do 4 boiled eggs. And now I've like scaled it up and now I eat 6 boiled eggs. So I have enough protein plus my oatmeal. And that makes it way easier to eat than scooping 100 grams of peanut butter in there because that just makes it like a big bowl of concrete. And concrete is hard to eat. But the same thing I did with my yogurt, just scaling it up bigger, bigger, bigger until it now feels good to eat that amount. And in the beginning, it's small. But I think the lesson from that is that every time something is new, it's important to start with it with the time frame in mind. Like I want to do this long term, so I have to start it in a way that I will do it tomorrow again. So make it small enough, and then it's fun, and then I do it again and do it again, and then when it feels good, I make it a bit more and a bit more and a bit more, and in that way, I can steadily progress and make it more. So I feel like for my day to day and my base of feeling good, those are the 3 things that are highly important, like working out, stretching, and eating. Oh, and with that in mind, it also makes like my sleeping way easier because if I'm not eating and I'm not really, I know that I'm not that productive in the afternoon or evening. I can just go to bed, and because I know when I wake up, I have energy again. So that's usually what I do. Easy, um, sleep early. Alex Ramosi always says like, if you're in bed at 9, you're nothing bad can happen to you. Like if you're out later than 9, then the there are so many more chances of getting into trouble and those type of things. So I like that. I like that thinking. Um, and of course, 8 hours of sleep is just delicious. And I mean, it feels good, and I think it's. I mean, I think they say it's very healthy, but scientifically, I don't know. Um, so coming back to then that whole trip, finishing on my school, like 2 3 years later, I uh, I finished school and then I was like, shit. Maybe everyone knows that period in life where you like don't know what to do with your life. You have just no idea because there's so many different choices and you can just choose anything, but it feels a bit overwhelming and you don't know that actually anything is possible. So it was a while before I made the decision to do this thing, but I decided to live again in a different country. Like I wanted to live in Japan for 3 months. That was the maximum amount of time that my visa would allow. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'll go there. I had really that desire to learn Japanese there because dyslexic, and I heard that Japanese is a phonetic language, and the problem that I always had with my own language and English is I want to write it how I hear it, but then you have like night and no with words that have silent Ks, or like lasagna with a G on the end that you think like I pronounce a G as a like there is no G in there. You think like why? And then out of nowhere there's this language that is like, oh, you hear it and it's exactly how you write it. And I'm like, wow, that is the fix. So desire created. I want to learn a new language. Bam. But big problem. I had never learned how to really study because, yeah, with my schooling and how I did things, I never really studied that much at home or at school. Or I mean, at school I did, but not really at home. So getting myself to study and do writing was never really my big thing. So here it comes. Um, when I went to Japan to do like to learn that new language, I had to first learn what are all these things that I have to learn. Like I have to sit down, I have to study, I have to get all these words in my head. But how do I do all of this? Oh, that was interesting because it was actually easier than I expected. Because this was the first time that I chose to learn something that I actually wanted to learn. And the fun thing about that was I started doing this concentration exercise for this one of these purposes back in 2019 when I first started living on my own. And that concentration exercise is, people call it meditation or whatever, but it's just sitting, focusing on one thing, and every time you lose distraction, just trying to bring it back. And that one exercise that I've been doing over the last 3 years to that point, I think has helped me then even more, because the thing that I always struggled with was not like doing too many things at once, or it was not knowing when I got distracted. But because I did that exercise, I was able to, every time when I lost distraction, I was able to get back to that point. And I think that was what helped me in the beginning the most with studying, because I wasn't able to sit long to like sit down and study. I think I started with like 5 or 10 minutes between breaks. But because I realized when I got distracted, it was way easier to bam, back to it. And so the scaling of how long I could sit became bigger and bigger. So it started with like 5 minutes, 5 minute break, 10 minutes, 5 minute break. And then the next week I did 15 minutes, 5 minute break. And I did those sets over and over and over until that sort of felt good enough that I could eventually scale that to 30 minutes. And I think that was one of those things that I needed to learn, because I always knew that I wanted to do something that was my own thing, sort of. But to do your own thing, you need to be able to absorb new knowledge, new skills, new things. And how are you going to do that if you're not even able to sit down or know when the one task you're focusing on get distracted from? So with this new sort of skill and new training to start realizing this was a game changer for that. Like at the end, I wasn't fully able to learn the whole language, of course, but I I don't know, maybe like a toddler level speaking the language, but it taught me something greater, and that was I started learning how to study. I started learning how to focus on one thing and knowing when you get distracted, and that has taught me a lot. And I think for anyone that's thinks that they cannot focus, I think an actionable point there is it's not the focus you lack. You're probably really good at it, because you can probably and look at your phone for a long period of time. So the thing that I had to learn as well is realizing when you switch tasks, because when you switch tasks, that is when you have to bring yourself back to that one thing you want to do. Because I don't believe in multitasking. I think we only switch between the tasks. So if you realize the switching happens, then it's easy. You can just bring yourself back to whatever it is that you were doing. So I think that is was that fourth thing that I learned there. That was awesome. So that was very important there. And I also realized something really big because besides studying, I also started studying other things, like started looking deeper into myself because you probably have the same thing. You want to know more about who you are, why do you think these ways, and what is it that I want to do in this life. And so I started reading all of these books, and I got this book, Get Smart, because who doesn't want to get smart, right? And it was from Brian Tracy, and shout out to him because he is awesome. And he had written many books on goal setting and I think business, and he was once 25 as well and wanted to be a millionaire, and he uh, he did the things that he said in that book for like 5 or 6 years, and then he was a millionaire. And I mean, the book wasn't about that, but it told me how to set goals and the importance of it, because everyone says like, oh, it's important to set goals, blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, but it sounds so superficial when you don't really know what it is. And I like the vision. Like, I'm a picture thinker, right? So I like seeing the Google Maps and navigation systems as a goal. So you have your address, the place you want to go, and then the route to there. You can choose all of these A, B, or C, and they all get you there. But the navigation system itself will just tell you go left, go right, go left, go right, because it will tell you when you need to take an exit. And I think a goal is the same thing. It's like, you know, the end point, you know where you want to go, and then you just have to realize when you have to take an exit. And you can only take that exit if you know the signs. Like on the boards on the highway, you say like, "Oh, Amsterdam is there. I have to take this exit because otherwise I'm going the wrong way. I'm going to Groningen. I'm going to Germany. That's the wrong direction." So I think it's just an easier way to know when you're on the wrong highway. So if you want to be on the right highway, know where you're going. What's that saying? Um, if you don't know where you're going, you might end up somewhere you don't want to be, something like that. Or if you don't mind where you're going, then both roads will take you there, something like that. Oh no, that was the Alice in Wonderland thing. So Alice in Wonderland said to the cat in the tree, that floating cat, like, "Oh, which road should I take?" The cat asked, "Where do you want to go?" And she said, "I don't know." Then the cat says, "Oh, either left or right will take you there." And I like that because it's similar to that. So coming back to the next thing was goal setting, clarity of knowing what direction I want to take. Quite important then. So I've these four was like, uh, is that four, five? No, doesn't really matter. Um, and that's when I finally started thinking, I'm getting this new direction, because at first I had no idea what the fuck I was gonna do. But now, what's that? 4 years later, 3 years later from there, I finally get a glimpse of my purpose, my thing that I'm trying to do. Fucking, I'm trying to, no, I'm deleting trying from my vocabulary. I'm doing what I'm doing, podcasting, video making, and be creative with my ideas, follow my intuition. But coming back to from learning how to focus to then knowing what direction to take. Oh, the next thing that I learned in that one trip on Japan was also mind blowing. That was more towards knowing that most things that we want to do or see other people do, someone else has done before, and they have done a certain amount of steps to get to that point. So it's like a roadmap. And that was something that enlightened my brain when I thought about it. I was like, yeah, it's not that hard if someone else done it. I mean, it's probably hard, but it's possible. And that makes thinking so much easier. It's like, oh, take 20 steps, you get there. Which steps? Those steps. Do those steps. You could get there. And that feels quite nice. So it's like having your direction, knowing what steps to take. Then it's just like, a new thing that you need to learn, and that's how do you self motivate, or how do you get excited about making yourself do things. And oh, I mean, 4 years later, I'm still struggling with that. But that's probably a lifelong thing, because every time you just want to do more things that are bigger and bigger, and it just stays hard to then do them, try to do them. But I think that's the fun part. It's how can I get excited about making myself do things. And recently I've been thinking about that, as in each day has limitless potential. Like I could literally do anything. If I wanted to jump out of the window right there and see what happens, I mean, chance for me doing it is quite small, but I could do it. And I don't like the idea of, like, if I don't do anything, I just stay here in this house and haven't done shit. And so the idea of limited potential, limitless potential of a day of getting into situations that you don't expect, that's quite fun. So, like, example, 2 weeks ago, I made this intention. I said, I want to do more daily actions that will lead me to get me in situations where I have no idea how I got here, and this is awesome. This is so cool. Not even 2 weeks ago. I mean, it was like 4 days after that. I was sitting in a station with an artist doing a podcast about him and on his art piece of 4 by 6 meters. Beautiful piece of wood made of 159,000 pixels. The Rembrandt Night Watch. It was mind blowing. Like, how can you even imagine doing something like that? So I think that is the next thing, is just after getting excited to make yourself do things, it's focus on that limitless idea of, like, how exciting can I make this day? Because if I do not, then I know what the alternative is, and the alternative is grab your phone out of your pocket and you start scrolling, because what else is more exciting than that fun little videos on your phone of other people doing cool things? But that's just not, like, I love it. Like, looking at those videos. Oh, it's so, like when you're hopping the toilet and you're like scrolling. It's like, fuck, it's good. But that's the thing. We have to do more fun things on a day-to-day basis, so we uh, we can get excited about those things instead of needing to always see other people do these cool things. But I'm not a pro there. I'm trying to learn that too. So we're all in the same boat here. But I still think that having that realization is quite awesome. But coming back to the next step is, I went from Japan because my time was running out. I think I had a month left, and I was shit. I was thinking, this is awesome. I've been learning so much. I'm making progress. I don't want to go back to that old space of my home. I don't know what happens then if I do that. So, what are my options? How can I get somewhere where I can continue this journey of thinking, making actions, transforming, whatever you might call it? Then, bam, found Australia, work holiday visa because I didn't have any money. Bam, got that. Zoof, went to Australia. Bit quick story, but when I got there, I was like, I'm not gonna travel around every day in a different hostel. That's no life for the thing that I want to do. I want to stay in one spot, and in that one spot, I want to get my community, learn, do as much as I can. I had this one goal. I wanted to run a marathon, just one marathon. I was like, wow, I need to do this. I mean, the boy David Goggins inspired, but after that inspiration, I was like, I have to do this. In Japan, I tried to do one, did a half marathon. My legs cramped up. I was like, this is hard. I have to train a lot more because the previous training was zero. So a lot more is more. And so coming there in Australia, needing to learn to train for something new because it turned out progress is highly addictive. So if you like new things, progress is the thing you're gonna need to get addicted to because so many fun things can happen from there. But all right, so got to Australia. I wanted to pursue my goals. Well, still not that much clarity, but I had figured out that if I write down all my goals every day in the morning or try to, it gives a lot of clarity towards what direction I want to take. So I started doing that. And I wasn't that scared for making videos anymore. So I started my YouTube channel. I was like, ooh, exciting. Because I thought if I'm doing all of these cool things, I would like to document it, see where it goes. So bam, new scary thing started. Make videos with you guys. Thank you for being here. And I feel like my story is a bit sidetracking, but there, while I was making videos, while I was in Australia, I was still planning to do my marathon. The first thing I did there, signed up for one. Okay, now it's happening. I have to start training. That's what I did. Start training, and man, where's this going? All right, so let's do something fun. So before I even did that marathon, I was already like in my weeks of training. It was going well. I think I had the longest run that I did was like a 30K. It was my birthday. Um, Also inspired by David. Now I'm trying to do like a yearly ritual, do something awesome on my birthday. But sidetracking. Um, I met this guy, Adam Green. Shout out Adam Green, you're awesome. Um, and while I was working, I was talking with Adam Green, and he said something awesome. And I sometimes take things too literal, I think, but I only take the things literal that I want to take literal. So what he said was, if you can run 10K, you can run 100. I'm like, I bet. I believe you. Because why not believe that, right? That sounds awesome. It's like I have a size 46 shoe. Like if someone says, "Oh, if you have a size 46 shoe, you become a millionaire in a year." I'm like, I'll bet. I'll believe that because why not believe it? It's fun to believe that. So I was like, "Oh, that's cool." And then he said, "Yeah, I'm gonna do a 100-kilometer race in 2 weeks from now." I'm like, "What? That's awesome." So credibility. I said, "Have you done any?" He's like, "Yeah, I've done 2 or 1 at that time." I was like, "What?" So it must be true then. So new desire created. Not even I hadn't even done the marathon yet. Just a desire. Then out of nowhere, like, now I want to do 100K. I hadn't even done a marathon. So 2 months later, a month later, I did the marathon. Met this awesome guy Jack, and Jack and I think after the marathon, I sent him a message. I'm like, hey, dude, do you want to run a 105-kilometer marathon? I found one in the Boa Desert, and I think it was not even 30 minutes later. He said, yes, let's do it, and the rest is history. I've been running marathons ever since, and it's awesome. Mostly ultras because that's just way cool. But coming back to the lessons that you learn from running, that is something you need for your life. Like when you run, you become sort of I started with music in my ears, and music, you think, oh, it's motivating, it feels good. Now after 4 hours, 3 hours, it just gets boring. You think like, stop that. What else is left? Oh, your thoughts. All right, that's fun. Now we're alone with the thoughts. And we were doing that race, and there were the 105-kilometer race, and there were a few people that were in front of us, and they were running way faster and way more likely to finish. But throughout the race, we saw that there were more and more people giving up. We're like, why? And while a bit later in this race, I started to realize that my theory on why people give up is the moment the pain starts and the moment a thought arises and they cannot get themselves out of the negative thinking, that is when it's officially finished. Because if you still need 60 kilometers to go, your body feels like shit, your legs feel like noodles, and you start thinking, I need 60 to go or 40 to go. How am I ever going to do that? Like, then that is game over from that point. So, something that I learned from that is a long distance run is long. And if you want to finish, you need to have that in mind. It's long. So, there's a lot of time for you to start thinking negatively. So, if you give yourself the freedom to start thinking that way, that is when you're going to spiral. And I knew the moment I start doing that, it's game over. So I had this trick that is every time I got a thought, negative, anything like shit, I was like, how can I not focus on this? And that's when the focus training just got in, and I was like, shh, I just shushed it. Like, stop it. It's like a dog was doing something that it wasn't supposed to. Stop. Don't do that. Don't eat that. Don't do it. And every time, it was quite often, just like, oh shit, I need 30 to go. Shh, stop. One more checkpoint. Make it easy. One more checkpoint. Let's go. One more checkpoint. Simple, simple. And by removing that starting point of that spiral, negative spiral of trying to talk yourself out of something, that is where it starts. And if you can remove that starting point from a negative spiral, there's no spiral. There's just one foot in front of the other. And I think the biggest lesson with anything new that we start, we can combine some of the other ones of feel good and reward systems, is we have to make it small first, making small steps and adjusting. But the moment we start thinking bad about it, that's when it's truly going downhill. And I think when we can remove that negative monologue that we always tend to have in our head because we're so negative towards ourselves, that is when we're going down. So if we can stop that, because I think in the future we can probably be way kinder to ourselves, but that is harder to learn, and I'm not there yet. And I think an easier step to start with is just stop that spiral before it can even become a spiral. And that's a epic, powerful lesson right there for myself, and to remind myself for that often. Um, yeah. So I think I want to let's see if there's one thing that I want to add to that for you guys. I think that's something I learned in my recent travels. Is something to add on that is real growth doesn't happen without reflection. So with all these different things in mind, we had the first three for just day to day. You have like the working out, you have the stretching, you have the eating and sleep. That just makes you feel good, makes you able to do things. And then you have, of course, the things for like your day to day for your life to enjoy it. You have your goals, you have your direction, the things you want to go in. But one thing that helped me a lot was sometimes taking a breath, standing still, reflecting on things I've done. And that is where I usually get the most benefit of new things, things that I've learned, things that I can change, implement. And it's the favorite thing, how I like doing it is, it was the first time how I did it was drink a shitload of coffee in the morning, start walking, just talking out loud, see what comes up, and then the things that were good, the golden nuggets, start writing those down on a piece of paper, and then start walking again. And because I don't like sitting down and trying to write everything. For some people that works, but I don't know if the coffee helped, but I think it did. Like that lubricated so good to your brain. Just wanted to make all of these connections. Um, Now I still do that, talking. Have like some times where I just do a big reflection set, and it usually involves those three things: walking, coffee, writing the good shit down. Or now sometimes I just voice record and then transcribe that whole recording. But in essence, that is, I think, the maybe there were less than 12, but there were 8 or 9. But those were the things that I wanted to share with you guys today, because I think the 3 things in the beginning, like have the workout, have your stretching, have what you're eating, good sleep, and then the things from have a direction where you want to go, learning how and what it is when I get distracted to keep on track, goals, what it is, or was that one? I don't know. How I want to continue, then the negative talk, stop it before it can happen, because that's how you talk yourself out of things. And then the last one is reflect on, take some time, step back, look at what we're doing, and say, like, hey, we're doing good. Let's see what we've learned and what else. Because do you know that 20-80 rule? I think that works here as well. I think doing the things, that's 20%. And then when you reflect on it, that's when you get 80% of the value out of it. Because sometimes there's just so much more to unpack than you can do in that singular moment. But thanks, guys. Thank you for watching. This is the Journey to Life singular episode of me talking about some random shit. If you learned anything, if you resonated with anything, pop it down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you thought. And yeah, if you like my content, try for your vocabulary. Stop it. I am uploading every week, so hop on this subscribe wagon, and I'll see you next time. Later.